What's going on, everybody? Excuse me, I just played basketball. I'm a little bit disheveled and whatnot, but I wanted to come to you live because something very important is going on, and perhaps this might be one of the biggest events, of the year. Two things happened. Something happened today with a woman named Reality Winner, and there's the hearing of James Comey on Thursday. And once everyone gets in, all right, I think a good amount of people are here. So I'm going to start with the first thing, and a woman named Reality Winner, or Reality Leigh Winner. You're going to see her in the news today and over the next week, perhaps the next month or so, because she was an alleged government contractor, and she leaked a document apparently to The Intercept, which is a pretty decent news publication, probably one of the more unbiased news publications out there. And then she got caught immediately after she released this, and I'm going to tell you the full story about it, what the news is telling you, what the news isn't telling you, and some things that are kind of fishy about it. So I'm reading, this is from NBC News right now, and if anybody pays attention, you know that NBC News is trying to get Donald Trump out of office. They don't remotely like him. They never give him a fair shot. And directly from NBC, their news source, who of course, you know, they're going to push all the evidence that they can, they're saying, while the document she released, because a lot of the headlines will say it's a Russia document, it proves that Trump was working with Russia, that Russia tried to hack the election for Trump. This is directly out of NBC. It says, while the document doesn't say the hacking changed any votes, it raises the possibility that Russian hacking may have breached at least some elements of the voting system with disconcertingly uncertain results. I'm going to read that again because this is every single Russia story that's happened throughout the past year. Literally, it says, while the document doesn't say that the hacking did anything, it raises the possibility that they may have breached some part of it. How many stories are going to go like this? I've probably said this since September. And something that's very strange about this specific thing, because Reality Leigh Winner had top secret documents. She had access to top secret documents. And a comment that I read that makes a lot of sense is, to get access to top secret documents, you need to go through a clearance. You need to go through a clearance for almost every job. They look at your social media, you know, if you're wilding out on social media. I know even for a job that I work for, they looked at my social media and they liked it. If they didn't like it, I've lost a job, a basic job, a job that has nothing to do with the government, I've lost because of social media. They didn't like my political views. That's life, whatever. She's working as a top secret, she has top secret clearance to classified documents. And you have to see this woman's Twitter. Her name is Reality Winner, or Reality Leigh Winner. She was so anti-government, so anti-Donald Trump. She was cursing, saying, F this guy, fuck this president, resist, he's a piece of shit. She's got all of these statuses, just like manifestos of her hating Donald Trump, which is fine. It's America. Please speak out. Certain things that she's talking about, like the Dakota pipeline, I actually agree with her. I thought it was kind of rude of him to, when he said, oh, I don't even think anybody opposes it. You know, regardless of how you feel about that, a lot of people did oppose it, so I think you should speak to those people and explain what you're doing. But anyway, she has top secret access to the government. How does somebody that's mouthing off that much have top secret access to classified documents? Is that not a little bit sketchy to anybody? Because to me, that's incredibly sketchy. I don't think they don't have a vetting process for people that they're giving documents to. Well, anyway, so she releases this document, and the timing of it couldn't be more perfect for the anti-Trumpers, because James Comey is testifying on Thursday. And if anybody's paid attention throughout the whole election, before, as I always say, whether you like Donald Trump or not, a big difference between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump was Hillary Clinton essentially wanted to wage war on Russia. Throughout the past 16, 20 years, the United States actually hasn't, and the United Nations, we haven't agreed to our treaties. We said we wouldn't pass a certain area, and we've passed it for a long time. We've passed it, so we're breaching contracts with Russia. Meanwhile, Hillary's pointing the finger at them saying, if they mess with us in Syria, I'm going to shoot down their aircrafts in a no-fly zone. So she was going to escalate war even more than Donald Trump has so far. And Donald Trump said, hey, I want to get along with Putin. So their Russian narrative has started long before the election even ended. After the election, there's been proof, although I will admit it is murky proof as well, that the Hillary campaign decided that their strategy to try to get Trump out of office after their election loss was to run with this Russian narrative. And they've since published many, many, many fake stories in the Washington Post and the New York Times, and they go back and forth saying, we said this, we said this, we said this. A lot of them have just absolutely collapsed. And me, like anybody, I would love to know if Russia hacked the election. I would love to know if Russia's working with Donald Trump or we have foreign intelligence. But what we do know is that the Washington Post has published a fake story about them hacking the election grid. They've published fake stories about the war in Iraq. And admittedly, one of the writers for the Washington Post admitted on Twitter that their owner, Jeff Bezos, who is now the second richest man in the world, and he owns Amazon and the Washington Post, he has a $500 million contract with the CIA. This isn't me saying this. This is not a conspiracy. Someone asked the Washington Post writer on Twitter, and he admitted on Twitter, he said, no, it's not the Washington Post. It's just our owner that got a $500 million contract. So they're making up fake stories to try to get Trump out of office when, there's enough real stuff to talk about that we could try to get him out of. Meanwhile, this comes out, there's more murky evidence, and now you have the James Comey hearing on Thursday, and this, for the anti-Trumpers, for the resistance, for the I want to impeach Donald Trump people, which there are many, this is their cream of the crop right now, because now they have this leaked document, apparently from a woman named Reality Winner, and James Comey goes in to testify on Thursday. And it'll be very interesting to see what James Comey says, because, he has the power, possibly, to leverage their Russia story even more. And in my opinion, you're allowed to tell me yours. I'm underwhelmed with all of the Russian news. Some people tell me, I have a lot of good friends and good followers who message me. They say, Anomaly, this Russian news, it's overwhelming. The Russia evidence is overwhelming. Trump, you got to tell your audience. And I'm not trying to lie to my audience. I just don't see it. If you see something I don't, every time I see a bombshell story, I go and read from left to right to center to NBC to CNN. I look through it all for you guys. And it's always like, maybe they might have done this and that. Meanwhile, the real evidence that I know, that I've seen, that came out and nobody disputed it, it's not like they said it wasn't real, it's 100% accurate. It showed that Hillary Clinton was getting $1 million from Qatar. She's getting $500,000 from Kremlin banks. She's getting millions of dollars for selling uranium. She's getting $5 to $20 million from Saudi Arabia. Would the intelligence agencies and the Democrats and the Republicans and the citizens of America, if Hillary Clinton would have won, would they have been putting her through all of this? Because even without an investigation, this is now a year of investigation, everything that they found around Trump and Russia still doesn't even reach 1/10 or 1/100th of the foreign donations that Hillary Clinton took and the foreign influence that her campaign had and that, other people have had. But more so than anyone else, her. So would they have done this, or would they have swept it all under the rug? Because you don't even need to have an investigation. We don't need an investigation. It's all public knowledge. It's public domain already. And I'll say this is an opinion because none of this is confirmed. I'll call it an opinion piece just to be fair. But these people lost the election. They control the media. They control, they have better relationships with the intelligence communities than perhaps Donald Trump. They control, the Democrats and the Republicans. These people are throwing a fit because they lost control of power. And now they're just desperately trying to get Donald Trump out of office by pointing the finger, by being the pot that calls the kettle black. And this happens all over the world. You have Saudi Arabia beefing with Qatar, beefing with the United States. And they're all saying, you're funding terrorists. The Saudis are saying to Qatar, you're funding terrorists. You're funding the Muslim Brotherhood. And then you have Qatar saying, no, you're funding terrorists. And then you have America saying, well, who's funding terrorists? And everyone's like, you're funding terrorists. So there's a lot of pot calling the kettle black in politics. And there's a lot of pot calling the kettle black in foreign relations as well, overseas and domestic. And I said a tweet earlier that I like to explain whether you like Donald Trump or not, that's your personal opinion, who you think is the lesser of two evil, but you should know what's really going on. And I always say, I understand the type of person Donald Trump is. I see his flaws, I see his mistakes, but I know how bad and egregious the politicians were in the past. And my thought is that a lot of people that perhaps criticize supporters of our president, or people that are optimistic that this could be some sort of a change because he's not as tied down as other presidents, is maybe the anti-Trumpers, maybe the anti-resistance, and once again, this is just my thoughts, maybe they're not understanding how bad of politicians that we've had in the past. Maybe they're not understanding how bad people like Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama were, and how sold out they were to foreign governments, because there's a lot of things I don't agree with Donald Trump. There's a lot of things that I don't like the direction he's going, and the media and the anti-Trump movement and the resistance movement, they honestly make it even easier for him to get away with this stuff. The stuff that I don't want him to get away with, the stuff that they don't want him to get away with, they make it easier for him to get away with because they're so dumb and they have no facts and logics. It's just raw misinformation, and they're missing the line. Like I said, once again, this bombshell of a document from Reality Winner, she got arrested because she works for the government. First of all, how is somebody cursing and screaming and saying all sorts of anti-government things on Facebook, on a public Facebook page, not even private, public? How does she have top secret clearance? And then she releases this bombshell document, and once again, direct words from NBC News. It says, while the document doesn't say that the hacking has changed any votes, it raises the possibility that Russian hacking may have breached at least some elements of voting system. How many stories are, how many maybe? It might have parted, he might have done some, it might have been Russia, it might have not been Russia, they may have done some part of, but we don't know. There's no self-accountability. None whatsoever. They just don't want to admit they lost. They don't. That's how arrogant the system is. They think it's a malfunction in data. That's how dumb they think people are. They're like, it's the data. It's not the data. It's the fact that there's no connection. I know how bad Donald Trump is. But people think these other politicians are up here. They're down here. That's how he won in the first place. It's a battle of who's dumber. And they were dumber. And they keep being dumber and dumber and dumber. And to me, this is going to be all over the place, like every other story has. First you had the Russia hacked the election story, then that fell apart. Then you had the Russia hacked the electric grid, which was a Washington Post made up fake story that's still on their website today, even though it's been completely debunked. Then they had Jared Kushner did this. You notice there's no talks about that anymore because it was a complete nothing. Now there's this woman gets arrested for leaking documents. I mean, if you work for the government and you leak documents, be prepared to face the consequences. That's how things work, for the good or the bad. Whether it's someone who can be a hero by exposing corruption, it's still a risky move anyway. It's still a nothing to me. Like, I'm looking for it. I don't want our government to be sold out to foreign countries and even corporations like they already are. Our country is essentially tied into all these corporations. We're like a corporation disguised as a country, an oligarchy disguised as a democracy. And you have them pushing this and all of this evidence, even with this woman who leaked the document, it still doesn't add up to all the connections that Hillary Clinton has to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Russia. And I can't predict. I can't see alternate realities, but if Hillary Clinton would have won, instead of doing this, as they're continuing to do, they would have acted as a massive PR team, a PR shield for Hillary, and they wouldn't have let anybody know about what's truly going on. And even, the things that they're accusing of this hack in the leak of Reality Winner, it's not even tactics, the hacking tactics that they're accusing, that they aren't really showing any proof yet. They're not showing concrete evidence. It's not even the most up-to-date hacking techniques. The CIA, the NSA, and the intelligence agencies of the U.S. are using far bigger, far darker hack tactics. Like all these, there's the Vault 7 leaks that are coming out, and the tactics they're using are multiplied by 100. So there's something going on in the world and in the United States, and it's the opposite of being spiritual, regardless of what religion you are, regardless of what spirituality. I think the key to life and the key to being successful, happy, and honest is to self-reflect, not blame everybody else, not blame other things. Take responsibility and create a good reality for yourself. If you're a president, that's what a good leader does. They take responsibility. And you're seeing it all over the world. You're seeing it in the United States, in the Democratic Party, in the Republican Party, on the media. Everybody wants to point the finger. Nobody wants to take responsibility. And it's going to be a disaster, not just with this reality winner or James Comey hearing. It's going to be a disaster for humanity, because you have Saudi Arabia blaming Qatar blaming the United States blaming Russia. Who's willing to step up and take responsibility? Because the way to defeat this is to just tell the truth and have people trust you. If you have that backing, that's powerful. You can't kill an idea. You can't kill terrorism just based off violence. It's going to have to be with strategic education. It's going to have to be with strategic news and media corporations changing the tune, because a lot of these terror attacks can be prevented if our leaders and our news and our media just doesn't suck so much. Like, just don't suck. Don't be the suckiest and you won't lose the election. Don't be the suckiest and then maybe all cultures and nationalities and political affiliations, whether it be progressive, Republican, Democrat, they won't hate you if you don't suck so much. But between Theresa May, Sadiq Khan, sometimes Donald Trump, all the times Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party, Chuck Schumer, Maxine Waters, all of these people, all they know how to do is point the finger at someone else. They have no accountability. And that's why things aren't going to get that much better anytime soon. Because we're run by a bunch of sociopathic, megalomaniac, insane human beings who only know how to call other people sociopaths. That's what's happening. You have a world full of sociopaths, a bunch of leaders who are sociopaths, and the only thing that they seem to know how to do is point the finger at Donald Trump and call him a sociopath. That's their only skill. They don't know how to lead. They don't know how to stop terrorism. They don't know how to tell the truth about the news. They don't know how to honestly talk about Russia and Saudi Arabia and who's really being funded by who. Because if you follow the money trail, it's leading to the Clinton Foundation and to the Clintons. That's where the foreign donation money was in this election. By far, that's the thing that Donald Trump, that's why he won. Albeit, if a bombshell, like I said, I'm waiting. If a bombshell comes out that Donald Trump sold his soul and had a $100 million contract with Russia to do Russian work in the U.S., I will stand corrected and I will apologize. But they're once again flipping reality. The whole appeal to Donald Trump to a lot of people was not even his talk about all this thing. It was the fact, and even people like Minister Louis Farrakhan has said time and time again, Donald Trump is not tied down as much as other politicians. Is he tied somewhat? Absolutely. I mean, you have to make some sacrifices, I would assume. Like people say to me, what do you think about him selling $100 billion in arms to Saudi Arabia? It seems dangerous. It seems terrible. I think it's a terrible idea. But people like JFK, people like MLK have fallen victim to possibly the intelligence agencies. With Martin Luther King, it was confirmed. With JFK, it was not. But these people who stray away from the rule of the intelligence agencies don't tend to end up well. And I'm not making an excuse for him. I'm not making an excuse for Bernie and even Obama. You know, that's why it's like, to me, before Donald Trump came and Bernie Sanders came and smacked down the political correctness and the normal ways of politics, it wasn't even a possibility to be this real or to be this untied. So, you know, in a lot of ways, Barack Obama, he never had that platform. He never had that. He wasn't that type of politician. He was just a politician. Trump smashed down the political correctness. Bernie Sanders broke up the Democratic Party, and now we have the option to have a president that doesn't have ties to all these foreign countries. And now that we have a president that possibly doesn't have ties to all these foreign countries, the only thing that the news wants to do, and even the intelligence communities and the Senate committee hearing, whatever nonsense they're putting together, their whole mission is to try to make the one guy who has the least connections to other foreign countries, make it look like he has the most ties to other foreign countries. It's bananas. And I'm interested to see what happens in the James Comey hearing, because this is another huge bombshell for the Democrats, the Republicans, the anti-Trumpers, the resistance, we desperately want Mike Pence to be president. Not me. That sounds worse to me. But this is a big bombshell for them, because this is the moment they've been waiting for. Donald Trump fired James Comey, if you remembered. Everybody hated James Comey. Rosie O'Donnell, Hillary Clinton, every Democrat, Republicans, they were all blaming James Comey for the election, saying he's the reason that Hillary lost the election. All of a sudden, Trump fires James Comey, and the same Democrats and the Rosie O'Donnells of the world who were complaining about James Comey, all of a sudden now they're the biggest Comey fan. They're saying, how dare you, even though 2 months ago you could check their Twitter, fire him now. And then he fires him, and they're like, why did he, what? Oh my God, it's because of the Russia stuff. And now he's testifying. So you have the ex-FBI director, James Comey, who was fired by Donald Trump, who probably has little to no reason to like Donald Trump. He could possibly, be a huge thorn in Donald Trump's side, because he was planning on being FBI director for 10 more years. He was already just talking a couple weeks ago. He's like, you're going to have to put up with me for years to come. And all of a sudden he turns around and he's not FBI director anymore. He heard it from the news. He didn't even know. So this man probably has not much love for Donald Trump, and he probably has high motivation to try to take Trump down. So this Comey hearing is going to be huge. But once again, whether you like Donald Trump or not, the reality of the situation is, unless they find that he has a $500 million contract with Russia and he's working with the Russian banks and all this stuff, it's going to be hard to beat. This is just reality. This is not my opinion. This is proven factual reality. It's going to be hard to beat the connections that Hillary's campaign had to Russia, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar. And they're going to act like it's the most terrible thing, and we'll see what it is, because to me, if they had real evidence, it wouldn't take this long. Hillary didn't want this evidence to come out. They had no investigations. They had no Senate committees. They had no media attention. And there's already more evidence in her direction without them wanting it out. They've wanted to find a bombshell on Trump for a year, and they found virtually nothing. And I'm going to say it, once again, this part of it is an opinion piece, but something is sketchy to me about this NSA leaker, because how in the world can you be contracted to the NSA when you're mouthing off on Facebook in public, saying all this crazy stuff about the government? I lost a job working for a lock company because I liked Bernie Sanders at the time, and they were Republican. They said, we don't think you understand our philosophy. It's like I was doing social media for a lock company, and I got fired. You're talking about NSA, top documents, classified, and they're not checking her Facebook and Twitter to be like, do we want this employee or not? And once again, to read again, while the document does not say that the hacking changed any votes, it raises the possibility that Russian hacking may have breached at least some elements of the voting system. This type of reporting and bombshell, not bombshell, this is a huge deal, but we have no evidence. It's just mind-baffling. Meanwhile, if you talk about, Seth Rich and the fact that the Seth Rich police officers, the body cam footage is missing. There's evidence that the FBI had guns stolen off one of their FBI trucks 2 hours before Seth Rich's murder, and then these guns are missing, and there's no body cam footage, and nobody can get the documents, even though Seth Rich was alive when he was going to the hospital, so the body cam footage would be very telling because it would actually have him talking on it, most likely. You can't talk about that. That's a conspiracy. You're going to get badmouthed and blasted by the news. Jimmy Dore's gotten blasted, H.A. Goodman, all of these people, Judicial Watch, Sean Hannity, anybody talking about it, they're getting written up as a conspiracy theorist, but you can literally make up fake Russia stories for over a year and say, wow, the document does not say that the hacking changed. It raises the possibility that Russian hacking may have breached. This type of reporting is okay. That's the reality we live in. I'll respect that. If that's this battle that people are trying to have, it's a long battle, because with Martin Luther King, with people in the past, their message only gets stronger. You can't kill an idea. You can't do it with terrorism. You can't do it with people like Martin Luther King. Civil rights, you can't do it. With social justice, you can't do it. You just can't lie forever. The truth always reveals itself, and you got a bunch of politicians and intelligence agencies right now shooting themselves in the foot because the world is changing, and they're not ready to, adapt and just stop funding news corporations and just pushing out propaganda and misinformation to people. I think they would benefit more than anybody else. They could still be in power. I try to not complain that much because in my personal experience, I've never had any trouble. So much love to the intelligence communities. My life has been very blessed. I've been very safe in my lifetime. I've had no bad incidents or anything. I felt safe, secure in this beautiful, amazing country. So God bless the intelligence agencies. It's all love. I'm not mad at anybody. I just want to see Democrats, Republicans, the intelligence community, Donald Trump, and all countries of the world really have a discussion and figure out what's best, because it's actually worse for you. Like even with Hillary Clinton, like I say, I'm not trying to be mean. I'm not trying to ruffle feathers. I'm trying to help these people because they clearly don't get it anymore. They're losing elections. They're losing power. They're losing control. They're losing support of a lot of people. Just last week you had, Bill Maher and Kathy Griffin, two, very anti-Trumpers, resistance type people, kind of throw away their careers because they just don't get it. They're just so used to pointing the finger at everybody, they forgot that you're not always the victim. There's something called self-responsibility, and it's the root of all spiritualities. It'll make you a better person. It'll make you stronger. It'll make you safer. It'll make you more powerful. It'll make you more successful. Being self-accountable, reflecting in, not pointing the blame all the time, being like, what could I do better to make the United States and the world a better place? That's what I want to see. Let me know what you guys think. So, Reality Winner, you're going to hear that name a lot. She released a Russian document that after researching for over an hour, I see, little to nothing, just a bunch of headlines and maybes once again. And the fact that, like I said, she was mouthing off on Facebook, yet wasn't a red flag. I guess they just give classified top secret documents to anybody nowadays. They don't even check. We don't vet people. We don't check people. It's just like anything goes today. And the James Comey hearing is Thursday, and I believe ABC and CBS they're broadcasting it. They're salivating. They can't wait. They hope James Comey has some real bombshells. Because, when have you heard, a BS investigation, committee for something that isn't even 1/20th of the politicians that they like? They're throwing it together and they're broadcasting it like it's the Super Bowl because they're desperately trying to control people's minds and, desperately trying to impeach Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is much more of a threat because he's not a politician. He probably doesn't want war, albeit I don't think he knows the right steps. I don't think he's the perfect person. He's clearly better than sociopaths who control all the media, lie to everybody, get every race, religion, and gender to hate each other. It's you, it's white people, it's black people, it's the Latinos, it's the Muslims, it's the Christians, it's this, it's that, it's the white supremacists, it's neo-Nazis, it's Russia, that's what the news does. So that's what these politicians do. Anything has to be better than that, because once all of that subsides, we'll realize that all of these things we're fighting over are dumb. We're fighting in the streets. We're fighting each other. For what? For nothing. Thank you guys for joining. Have a good night, and I'll be back with some analysis and posts later this week.